this is the one reason I'm calling into September is I took this trend line from the body, and this is on the daily, right? So I took this
Yeah.
trend line from the body of the top candle virtually, and we've never been able to break this trend. Like right here, people thought this is what I was calling the start of the sailor liquidation period. Because everybody and their brother right here said Bitcoin was going to fucking, I think it was 250K or 200K, something in that range. But like this was if you go back and look, like there was a lot of zones right here that we just could not, we were basically in no man's land. So we weren't flipping anything as support. We weren't throwing any major divergences. And really, I was if we would have thrown a major bullish hidden divergence right here, it would have been bullish, but we couldn't do it. But if you go back and look, we never could get even here. Like if you're taking this level, we never even got back to the point 0.5.
Yeah.
So this was when it rebroke the 236, that was confirmation. I'm gonna do a fib training one day because people don't understand how to use fucking. It's like the same thing with RSIs. People don't understand how to use it properly. Once we broke back through the 236, this confirmed we were going to continue in a downtrend because we could not solidify above that point. Now realize, like I said, this is on the daily. So then we move it down to here. We know our local high. We're still at our local high.
Yeah.
Again, we could not sustain above the point 0.5. Once we came back through the 382 and the 236, it, you know, you're still going in the same direction. We're well below the 236 here on the daily,
Yeah.
which is why I drew this line. This line right here is basically what I'm calling no man's land. Once we break this bottom again, we're likely to come back up and turn it into resistance. So we're going to break below and come back up. That's going to be no man's land. That's when this is going to start. And I think that's going to happen likely within the next week to week and a half. Okay. What we're likely going to do is we're likely going to come back up, like I said, because I'd posted it in VIP somewhere. There were 4 lines that I'm looking at, and they were all fib level zones and shit. And
Yeah.
likely what we're going to do is we're going to come back up to this blue line, and we're either going to bust this line and come back up and retest it and then come back down, or we're going to come up to this blue line and bounce and wedge in through the middle of September, and that's when we're going to dump.
Mm.
Because this line has stayed essentially resistance since our high, and really we're going on a year with this line. So this is strong resistance. We need to form above this, and really we need to form above it and maintain above 25.6. Close a multiple daily candles above 25.6 for my theory to be invalidated.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't happen, we are sinking, and it's going to be a bad sink. What I think is going to happen, I think we're going to find a bounce somewhere around 15.6.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we'll come back up and retest this line as resistance. When that happens, get the fuck out of the way, because we are likely going back through 15.6 probably within 3 days of that happening. Right now, I'm looking at Bitcoin bottoming somewhere between the 21st of September and the 30th of September. As this week plays out, I'll have an actual date and number of where it's more than likely going to hit, plus or minus 5%. I give an exact number, but I always say plus or minus 5%. I will give an exact day, and then I'll say plus or minus 3 or 4 days. I really think the 24th or the 25th is going to be it. That's where all my systems are piling on. The key reasons I'm saying that is number one, We are getting new laws overseas that are limiting people to take out cash. Just happened in Israel last week. There's there's laws getting ready to go in Australia. I fully see different government entities coming together and limiting the amount of cash you can take out of the bank. We already do it in the United States. If think about it, if you withdraw over $10,000 out of your bank account, you have to fill out a form.
Yeah.
So people sit there and say, well, the government would never do that. Well, they sort of already do. They don't limit you. They just say you have to get notification. You have to provide notification to the federal government when you do this.
So you
There are
mentioned this
different,
law. You mentioned this law to me a little bit ago. Could you maybe just like give the um, overall kind of like overview of what this law could potentially be here in the U.S.? You said it's already happening in Israel and some other
right. And
countries around the world.
right now, the number seems to be around, it's looking like $1,500 is what the equivalent to the US side would be. So, like when I'm doing the conversion, it's like $1,500 for individuals right now. And in certain countries, you can only withdraw up to six or 7,000, 8,000, something like that, if you are a company.
Hmm.
Now, what's going to happen is the rumor is that this is going to expedite, meaning Israel is going to come back to this in 2 to 4 weeks, and they're going to say either we're going to limit it by household, meaning they're going to put stricter rules on withdrawing your money, or they're just going to decrease it. They're going to go, okay, we said 1,500, now we're coming back to 500. The reason I believe this is going on is because they want to basically create this super hyper inflationary cycle to go ahead and bust us into this zone. There's too much bad shit coming out of Europe right now. And I'm not talking about what's going on with the war over there. I'm talking about what another one of our VIP members were talking about, and we got into a very in-depth discussion on Friday about is right now Europe has basically, specifically the UK, is basically in a situation where their electric bills potentially are going up 8x, 10x.
What?
So before, from my understanding, now I am not of the UK, so I'm not of the UK as far as what I don't have firsthand knowledge, meaning I don't get bills from there. I don't know. But what I've been told is before they would go to basically twice a year, they would reevaluate their electrical plan, saying, okay, here's what we expect you to have to pay. Now they're doing it every 2 months. So, like I was telling the group that we were talking about it, and I said, here is what they are trying to prevent with this. And this is, like I said, this just happened in Israel last week. You let an old lady or a kid hit the internet or hit the news or global news that has died from freezing over in the UK this winter, and it's going to be game the fuck on. That is going to send us into a recession slash depression that a lot of these smart people have been calling. It's getting ready to happen. This
Right.
could turn into a fucking bloodbath because you have that going on. And the reason that's going on is because you have the UK and a lot of different European countries that are basically set up on natural gas. Well, 70 to 80% of their natural gas was supposedly, and like I said, I don't have extreme firsthand knowledge of this, but you have all the supply coming from Russia. Well, now all these other people are getting involved, and all these transitory charges are getting involved. And what you were paying $300 a month for, now you're paying 2,500 or $3,000.
Mm.
And I have friends that are over in Europe that are trying to get elsewhere because of this shit, not the fucking war, because they know they don't want their families, ending up like that. So they're trying to make alternative plans. You have all that going on. You have this going on with Israel. This is setting up to be an issue. Here's the issue with crypto. right now, let's say you were an Israeli resident, and let's say Bitcoin bottom right now is the bottom. Let's say 20K is the bottom, right?
Hmm.
And this thing shoots up to $1 million. If you can only withdraw $1,500 a month out of your bank account or a day or whatever, guess what your $1 million Bitcoin is worth? It's worth 1,500 fucking dollars a day because you can't convert. I always said the government is going to find a way to fuck Bitcoin, and this is how they did it, or well, cryptocurrency in general, and this is how they're going to do it. Because there's one thing cryptocurrency won't buy you. If you're limited on your transaction rate, you can send it to fucking 50 different people. I don't give a flying fuck where you send it. If you can only withdraw your native currency X amount, you still have to convert your Bitcoin to a usable fiat currency. And if you can't do that, it's fucking worthless, or it's worth whatever you can withdraw per day.
So it all seems, I mean, to me, it kind of seems like a ton of government organizations are almost orchestrating this, like working together, right? Wouldn't you say?
I would say that. I would also say that you have different funds, different hierarchies doing it as well. Um, again, that shit I can't prove, but it fucking the map sort of looks. If the map says it's leading west, well, it's leading fucking west.
Right.
You have different hedge funds out there. I'm not going to name which ones, but I can tell you firsthand, you got different hedge funds out there limiting highly profitable traders to 2%, less than 2% in some instances of what they can trade. They are converting their large funds into cash, into commodities, into other things. And I think part of that is they see the writing on the fucking wall. Because here's the other thing, guys, you have to understand. This just doesn't apply with fucking crypto. This applies with anything that isn't in your fucking hand. If it's not in your fucking hand, you don't fucking know.
So this applies to cash as well. You were saying,
It,
obviously, if you have
it,
cash in the bank account, it would be a good idea to take it out. At least have some of it in hand. I know many people listening will probably not take all of their cash out, but at least diversify some cash on hand as well as precious metals, gold and silver. You were saying, and I was also told by a very reputable source that Swiss dollars could be another currency to diversify a little bit into.